guys, welcome back to Clockwork Dandy Noodles, my Pain Train family. I hope you are doing okay and having a great weekend. Welcome back to the channel. We are breaking down episode number 15 of To Your Eternity, season number 2. A very different episode from last week. My jaw is firmly on my face right now, so we're doing good. We have now got 1 week left till my midway review goes up, so make sure you are subscribed. We are also slowly edging closer to 666. I don't know what that means for the channel, but we are nearly at 666 noodles in the bowl. Food aside, in that video, I'm going to be breaking down my top 3 OPs, EDs, and current standing anime. I think it's going to be very interesting, so make sure you do tune in when that goes up. It's going to be difficult, but I'm slowly edging towards where my top 3 are going to be. It is a very interesting episode in general. Out the way, I do wish that we had a fight like UFO table style or Mappa style. Love to have seen the depth, this fight animated in that style. However, I know it's not the point. We're going to talk about Fushi and his abilities. I've got some interesting little tidbits for you guys from history. Big interest in history. I do love my history. I've got a few little bits for you guys as we go through because I figured it would be more interesting, and it also should counterbalance the moments where I do maybe say I don't like something, because I do know that doesn't go down well on my channel. I am going to try and counterbalance it with good things anyway. And most of the time, I am always praising To Your Eternity. I love To Your Eternity. I think it is underrated. We are the Pain Train family. We've stuck through beauty that is in this anime, or at least we see the potential of the great story. Fushi's ability to heal the walls did feel OP, but I already knew that we were going to have issues with Fushi and his energy levels anyway. Even if I was seeing OP moments, I knew it was going to come with a price. I did think that a lot of the soldiers were getting complacent, and when a fight comes, you're not ready for it. Very similar to Attack on Titan, because I know that giant's coming back next season, or should I say Titan is coming back next season. I did think it was also quite interesting that to Fushi, March's arrival was similar to somebody coming in. I kind of like that. It feels quite comfy in the way that somebody's just come into the room. So nervous this week. Thankfully, for the most part, she seems okay. I think the anime's doing a thing where it just doesn't want us to quite lay eyes on her just yet, which is clever, but it also teases us just a bit more. You've seen her come back, but you're not going to see her just yet. The anime knows what it's doing. Nokka's firing at a range is actually a very classic safe move. If you can fire from a range, it lowers your chances of being attacked. Limit the casualties. Attacking at a range also means your enemies can't fight you back. Initially at the start, Venerable did have the upper hand. What you will see in many siege situations from the past, it's all about trying to cut off their food sources. In this week's episode as well, hats off to the anime, because I feel like the writer knows what they're doing. They hit the most important source, water. If you don't have water, you can't keep fighting because your people are going to start to die. And that is what you see a lot in history as well. There are cases where they threw dead meat into cities and castles because dead meat is poisonous. It contains contaminants. People get sick. Everybody in your town starts to die due to disease. It's very interesting this week for me as a historian to see that in action in an anime. Whoever has written this must be aware of situations from the past where this has been used. The Nokkas are very clever. They know what they're doing. They know how to make an impact. They know that people are going to attack me because I'm evil. So if I put poison in my body, I can poison that water source. Everyone is dying. I want people to come to an end. The toll on Fushi happens very quickly into the episode. Seeing him taking a lot of them out, but knowing that this could go on for ages. We don't exactly know how many Nokkas there are out there. Fushi getting nosebleeds, Fushi getting weaker. The inevitable did happen, and I was just waiting for when as opposed to if. Thankfully for me, March was taken into safety for a little bit, which was quite nice, but we were told at that point that she was crying, but we don't see the face because the anime is being very, very clever. It's trying to build our suspense. I want to see if March is okay. I want to know what happens. I want to know if she knows where Fushi is. Does she remember her past life? But it does seem that she does. She was asking for Fu-chan. This makes me so sad because obviously Chan is the honorific that they give to a younger person. She was always that mothering role to him. That struck a little chord. So sad, and I want them to meet at some point. I really do hope they get to meet. My big worry right now is what if she misses him? What if she still dies? Just had the Nokkas. They're basically in the city now. Once they're in the city, they've got a foothold. You found that notch. It's all about initially the bombardment, finding a crack, or blowing up a tower, because you are the invading force. You've got a tougher time. Once the Nokkas are on that wall, it's not good. At that point, I was starting to go, wait, any moment, March could be hit by a Nokka. March could be found by these guys. I don't even remember if March knows what Nokkas are. She really mainly had to deal with Hayase, hashtag fuck Hayase. She didn't really have to deal with the Nokkas But it was a really nice portrayal of a bombardment, a siege upon a very big city. I also like the fact that Fushi builds the walls up in a star shape. Very good. Fushi knows his history right there, because castles with essentially a corner, they can be undermined. And the term in English, the undermining, it actually comes back to like Norman period, where they had those square towers and somebody would just dig a hole, put a load of gunpowder in there, and boom, you just need to get a crack and then your foot's in the door and then you can take over. And a lot of these big walls, if you ever come to the UK, come and check out some of our big fortresses, because they will tell you those walls are like 2 meters thick. The outer walls on some of those very old Norman castles are just insane. You could shout through them and you wouldn't be able to hear the other person on the other side, because they're just that thick. The moment the water supply was tainted, the knockers immediately started to take that upper hand. Now, as much as they do have some water in reservations, and they do say that they were going to give March cider, don't panic, because this is actually very similar to the medieval Tudor periods. The water just wasn't clean. If I drink it, I'll probably get the runs, I'll get dysentery or something. I don't want that. They realised that they could distill water. Wines and beer making was a lot safer to drink. Small beer for kids, in especially the UK, I don't know if this applies to everywhere, it was very weak, barely had alcohol content, and that's what the kids would drink. So when they said they're going to give March a cider, we're in a period of time which I think is still trying to represent medieval period. I thought Bond's army reminded me a little bit of the Romans. I'm not worried, actually. They're trying to give her something safe to drink. It's a little window into how the civilians are taking the bombardment. We've been told we can't touch the water. What do? They're finding ways around it. We can eat berries because there's a moisture content in that. We can't rely on the water, so they have things like ciders, drinks and things that they've bottled up, that you can rely on those. The very quiet To Your Eternity theme played really just tugged on my heartstrings, because the anime knew exactly what it was doing. It was keeping March from us at all times. When we see March, we only see the back of her head. She is her own being. We don't get to see her. I think there's a moment later on as well, we the audience are tied to Fushi. There is a moment later on that, as much as it irritated me and I did sin it, I'm also going to remove the sin later because of why I understand the anime is doing it. We are tied to Fushi. We haven't seen March yet. March hasn't met Fushi. The anime is teasing it. The anime knows what it's doing. It's playing with our emotions. The open window to the flowers, it's that March symbology. As much as I wish the animation was slicker, at the same time, the source material is just so good, because I know that they're bringing the symbology and there's links everywhere. The characters are fantastic. We, the Pain Train family, do appreciate that. We appreciate the anime no matter how it looks. Fushi finally hits the limit is when we finally start to see the knockers make that big leap ahead. They've got the water source, but people can technically overcome that. The big moment when the knockers start to really take the upper hand, the fact that they technically Trojan horsed them, hats off to those knockers, hats off to you guys, you know your history. They hide in the cannibals, and it's something as simple as, this is a cannibal, it's smacking my walls. It's just so clever. It's very realistic. There are lots of aspects in history where we see this happening. Helen of Troy and the Trojan horse. There's debates over that actually happening. The authors definitely read, and it's nice to see them using it, because you don't exactly know when the knockers are going to start making their move. And when they're finally on the walls, I want to say game over, but also I know it's not technically game over yet, but it's definitely a very big no-no. This is the moment where everything goes wrong. Echo and the Mulan moment, I wasn't expecting her to take up arms and cut her hair off. Echo, your hair looks so good, but now you've got really short hair. Does give me hope that I might see Echo live, because technically in the end we have her with the long hair. I'm so sad. I feel like I got trolled by you guys. I feel like my family trolled me. There was a few moments when I was like, oh, they're gonna die, but then everyone was like, oh no, they're in the OP, it's safe. No, they died, and that's just Fushi with them in their forms. I got trolled by you guys. The moment Echo takes up arms is just a reminder, it's time to do your job. It's time to fight. Stop worrying about how many people are dead. More people are going to die if you just sit there counting. You need to take action. Call to arms, because Echo, the young girl, is leading the charge. People are just spurred into action, and it feels like this is it. During the midway sequence, you can see that March is present. That was really weird for me, because I was expecting her to not be there anymore, because she's not a form. You guys know me. I have issues with Kohaku. I have so many issues, and Kohaku is now adding to my mountain of issues. Now, I know I keep hating on Bon, and I'm going to apologise for that, because there's one character who really should get more of my hate, and it's Kohaku. I will apologise. It's just the anime is very good at making me nervous and think that Bon's up to something nefarious when they're not. He's a very good red herring. Take my hats off to the anime for doing that. You are definitely leading me in the wrong direction. The thing I'm worried about is Kohaku, and the fact that Kohaku is just so calm when reporting that everything's gone haywire, everything's now in hell, people are dying, and the fact that he doesn't even mention the fact that people are dead, he just lets Fushi go and look in the mirror. That's when we have our hearts as an audience broken as well. So calm, and for some reason at that moment when he was reporting back, it really reminded me of Hayase. It was devoid of emotion, devoid of anything. Sure, he could be there crying in front of him and be like, oh yeah, people have died. It's not the character, but at the same time, would have been interesting to see a bit more of an emotion from him. But I swear we've seen more emotion from Kohaku normally. So I don't know whether Bon was also a bit sus of Kohaku, because he does say, don't let your guard around anybody who is a knocker, who has been infected by the knockers. That could also be relating to Kohaku. I also don't think that Bon is fully trusting of Kohaku, and hats off to Bon. Right now I'm praising Bon for being on edge. I don't trust Kohaku. Kohaku is too pushy, too impulsive, very, very oddly cold and chill that, things are going wrong. But I got your back, I can do this. And we also see he's the one who takes out Messer. Now, initially I sinned. I said that I was actually quite let down that we don't technically see all three of them dying on screen. But I understand that there's a reason why this is done. It is because we, the audience, are connected to Fushi. We didn't see them die on screen because Fushi was out cold. Once Fushi's out cold, we don't follow anybody. There's nobody on screen. The narrator's not there, so we can't follow him. There's nobody on screen we're technically tied to. We're the audience being tied to Fushi means we're going to miss their deaths. It ends up being a bit of a replay moment when we get Echo coming in to show us the deaths. For me, it just felt a little bit sad that I didn't get to see them personally, but I also understand by this point, the anime knows that we know that it can't keep shocking us with death. We've seen a few people come back now, and the anime is also starting to realise that tactic's out. It just doesn't really show it because it probably knows that the impact by this point was less. Maybe the fact that I know that the bodies are now on the floor as husks ready for Fushi, and if they do technically get loose, they could come back. I guess maybe that worry in my brain isn't as much, but I am a little bit nervous by a cutscene that I'll discuss a bit later. Again, impressed with Bon. Hats off to Bon again. He understood that Echo wanted to show Fushi. He understood the intent. It was like, Echo wants to show you this. I'm very impressed because it means he's also paying attention to Echo. He's been able to suss out what she's trying to say at times. But the replay on what we missed did feel a little bit, because there's moments as well when we're scouring the battlefield via Fushi's flashes. It's those moments where I really wish we had the better animation. It didn't have the greatest impact, but it is understandable with an anime like this. Mainly the anime budget is really going on telling the story, the acting, the music. I do think sometimes the visuals let the anime down. The story is still just as good. There's lots of moments which have got me going, oh, even I didn't see that coming. This entire episode for me was just very clever, seeing the tactics being used by the knockers, seeing how the Renreal soldiers were fighting. It's always very difficult, I think, in general for even Hollywood to show a good battle and how chaotic they can get. I think they're doing quite well in showing that there's multiple areas of fighting. It's not just one person fighting in one bit. The three end up dying separately because they go to different areas of the wall where they're needed. You can see how chaotic it is. I think at one point it looked like Echo was trying to stop one of them going because she knew something bad was going to happen. Didn't like the way that they had the end picture as Kohaku smiling menacingly. I don't trust Kohaku. The anime has done its best to keep me focused on Bon when the real criminal probably walking around is Kohaku. I don't trust him. There's something about it. He writes on the floor to say that they're going to be over here. Somebody goes and then they end up dead. Did Kohaku lead them to their deaths? I don't want to point fingers. I'm a little bit sus that maybe he was the reason that some of them lost their lives in the way that they did. He knew that he was sending them to a war zone, or he knew what was going to happen and he needed them there. Also wonder if the initial attack to hit the wall and knock March loose was planned, but I don't quite understand how I would fit that in. I don't think the knockers know, and I don't think Kohaku knows about the ability to bring people back. I just got this vibe. Things are happening. It may not be as we see. Now, I am a little bit concerned by this moment, this screenshot right here. But To Your Eternity does keep baiting me into hating on Bon. Right now, I'm concerned that Bon was going to do something dangerous. But I'm going to step back, think about this logically. It essentially says that somebody comes back with ability that even Fushi doesn't see. I think it's Messer. I think Messer's going to come back to life as a zombie infected by the knocker, because he was infected at the time of death. It would be interesting to see if Fushi could bring back a knocker. That's the only thing I can think of, so I'm gonna go with this because I know the anime likes to keep me hating on him, and he's a lot of people's favorite characters, so I'm gonna stop doing that because I like you guys. I'm not here to upset you guys. Right now, Kahaku is suspicious as F. I did like the episode, so there's a lot of moments for me that I really enjoyed. I liked seeing the techniques they were gonna use, and I was really curious to how we haven't even hit the middle section of the war just yet. We've only had really opening moves, and a lot of those opening moves are in the Knockers' favour. Now they've got to start fighting back. It looks next week we're going to have a lot of the OP play out as Fushi is using those forms. Can't wait to see how the fight goes. I'm going to be interested to see if they keep up the good work of lots of nice little historical references going on. I'm interested in that in particular. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you guys have also enjoyed a little bit of historical tidbits. I'm not delving too deep in them. I'm not going to give references because I did that with Moriarty the Patriot, guys, and those videos took 5 hours to edit. I know that I've read this at some point. If you are interested, I can try pointing you in the direction of those sources. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Take care of yourselves. Have a good day. Bye bye.